This is a Vrndavana Mahimamrita by Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur. We're finishing the discussion of Paliyadasi Mahima, the glories of Radharani Sakhi Manjaris, their forms and sevas and other attributes of theirs. And there's one verse we're discussing here from the 15th. Pandara Sataka. This is 15th Sataka, verse 44. And this is just describing a beautiful exchange of how the manjaris are engaged so directly, and the gopis and manjaris are engaged so directly in the service of Radha and Krishna. Nava prakata balavi samupash shikshya mukyalibir nijam ananya ananyag adbhuta tamam kala koshalam chitra drita namikam samuparitya tat sevaya Smarami mudam apitam Vrndavana Vrndavane. The Mukhya Alis, the chief gopis, the chief leaders of the gopis, Mukhya Alibir, they recruit many young gopis and teach them their own extraordinary arts and skills. I meditate on Vrindavan, where the divine young couple become merged into an ocean of happiness while calling out the names of those gopis and accepting their service. So we'll see another translation here to compare the two viewpoints of the translators. This is 1544. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. This angle is a little different here. It says, in Vrindavan, I meditate on the splendid and blissful divine couple, whose holy names the gopis serve, and whom the gopis teach the wonderful arts. Of course, we're at a disadvantage because the teacher and the students both don't know Sanskrit. So therefore, we're at the mercy of the two translators that know Sanskrit enough to present it. And so, not trying to outdo the Sanskritists, because as we can see, two very good, knowledgeable devotees in Sanskrit have a different idea of the meaning of these words. If we were to know Sanskrit, then we would give a third viewpoint of the meaning of these words. So rather than venture where we're not qualified, if we take each of these translations as true to itself, from the level of the translator, then we can, from our platform, we can draw different meanings from the same verse. And this is the nature of commentaries in general. The same verse will mean many things to many people. The Mayavadis will read the Bhagavad Gita and they talk about Ananya Bhakti, and they say that means to be fixed on Brahman. But we talk about Ananya Bhakti and we talk about the personal surrender and love of God and the relationship of the individual personal consciousness with the Supreme Personal Consciousness, with undivided, uninterrupted flow of service, loving, devotional service. So they're same verse, many angles of vision. And you can say, well, one makes more sense than the other. But ultimately the sense of what it is according to your realization and your proficiency in Sanskrit. But we want to receive some message, some teaching, some understanding of this tattva, of the Ashraya Tattva, the gopis, the manjaris, how they're serving Radha and Krishna. So the text here by Bhumipati says that leaders of the gopis recruit many young gopis and teach them their own extraordinary arts and skills. So these young gopis are the Navasakis, the Manjaris, the perfected devotees who enter the Leela. They are, and so many other shastras are explaining that they do in fact learn how to sing from Vishaka Saki, and they learn, the various Sakis and Manjaris will teach the newcomer Sakis how to perform different services for the pleasure of Radha Krishna. So they do that. They teach their own extraordinary arts and skills. They share what they have. Nijam nijam ananyag adbhutamam kala koshalam vichitra dritra namikam samuparita tat sevaya smarami muram apitam dvivara dhama Vrndavane. I meditate on Vrindavan, where Radha and Krishna become merged in an ocean of happiness, while calling out the names of those gopis and accepting their service. Vichitra drita namikam samuparita tat sevaya. So this translation fits my understanding of the Sanskrit arrangement, and the whole context of the presentation makes sense also. The maidservants, the kinkaris of Radha, they're waiting for her order, or they're waiting for the order of their group leader, or their guru Saki. There's always a chain of command, and they will be called. Hey, come do this service. Hey, Saki, take this flower message, this love letter, take it to, find out where Krishna is and do that. So then she runs out of the kunj and then she says, Vrindadevi, I have to take this message to Krishna. And Radharani just gave me this message. Do you know where the Krishna is? And then just at that moment, one parrot lands on Vrindadevi's hand. And that parrot's name is Manjubhashini. And Manjubhashini is Radharani's parrot. And then Vrindadevi says, have you seen Krishna? Yes, I saw. He's going south on the west side of Govardhan Hill. He's going in a direction of Saki Stali. The parrot is hesitant to speak. He's going in the direction of Saki Stali, Gauri Tirtha, the place of pastimes of Chandravali. Acha. And then Subhrana Devi says, look, Manjari, give me that message. And she calls another Vandevi. Vandevi, you know, you're familiar with that forest, all the shortcuts to get to that forest? Yes, yes, I know. So she passes that message. So in this way, the initial Manjari, who may be us or Rupa Manjari, whomever, they will receive a call from Radharani, hey, take this message. And then they will arrange to get the message. Directly they'll run there as a duty, as a messenger of Radha, or they'll enlist the cooperation of other Saki Manjaris in the Seva Parampara. They want to do the service in the most efficient way possible to please Radha and Krishna. So it says, I meditate on this. It says that I meditate on what? I meditate on that day when we read about the Sakis and what particular subjects that they teach. They're mentioned in different shastras. Then we meditate upon the day, because this is the direction of the meditations given by the devotees writing about Raganuga Bhajan and how to meditate specifically. So in this regard, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur and Sankalpa Kalpadruma, he says, when will, and also Raghunath Das and Stavavali, when will Radharani, is actually praying, when will Radharani take me to a cave in Govardhan and teach me how to sing her favorite raga, Dhanashri, or Malara raga, for the pleasure of her Sham. So Radharani herself, at least Vishnath Vinod Vallabhi Manjari, is praying that Radharani, she will take me to a cave and teach me how to sing her favorite raga, or even some song that maybe she composed. Sometimes people compose songs or dramas like our Ramananda Roy, Who is Ramananda Roy? Ramananda Roy is Vishaka. So she wrote a play with dialogue and music and dance. Then Ramananda Roy was teaching the actresses, the nayakas in the play, how to perform their dance and how to sing for the pleasure of the nayak. The Navina Nayak, the original Nayak, Jagannath Shyamsundar. Well, similarly, Radharani will come and teach the Manjari, and then one day she'll turn to the Manjari and say, "Hey Manjari, sing that song." Or she may even just with her eyes mention to her, glance at Radharani. The Radharani will glance at that Manjari, whom she taught to sing, and she will say, "Please sing that song." And then she'll sing a song composed by Radharani glorifying Krishna. Because if Radharani were to sing that song while she's sitting with Shyamsundar in the Kunja, then she may feel embarrassed and maybe choke up because it's so emotionally surcharged. It's penned right from her own emotions of her heart that she wouldn't be able to complete the song for Krishna's pleasure. So she delegates and requests a Manjari to sing for her. Oftentimes in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, they communicate to each other through the medium of other devotees. They communicate their feelings through manjaris or through sakas. For example, the obvious one that comes to mind is in Pratak Leela. In the Bhojan Leela, Krishna's eating breakfast in Nandagram. And Yashoda is arranging, and Rohini and Radharani, all the Sakhi Manjaris are cooking so many preparations. And then Mother Yashoda serves out some very wonderful sweets to Krishna. And then he takes it to his mouth and bites it, makes a face, what is something wrong here? There's salt, I thought it was rasgulla, but it tastes like salt, it's very strange. And makes that type of face and puts it on the plate of Sridham, who's sitting next to him, Radharani's brother, and you take it, this is terrible. And then looking at Sridham, very unhappy face, then Sridham says, "Really, it's that bad? Are you sure? It's rasgulla." Anyway, okay. Then Sridham takes it. It's very good. And he's beaming with happiness and radiating all kinds of pleasure and satisfaction, and looking in the direction of the kitchen also. And then Radharani's looking with great consternation and worry about how her Shyam is feeling about he doesn't. Then she was really, as I say, I'm tensed or something. There's some modern phrase people use, I'm tensed or whatever. I'm in anxiety or I'm in tension about something. And so Radharani's looking like that, very anxious look and worried look on her face. Oh, I displease my Shyam, my life is worthless. And then when she sees, when Sridham eats the same rasgulla, then beaming with smiles of satisfaction, then she understands, oh, Krishna is joking with me. So Krishna is communicating indirectly through, or directly in one sense, but indirectly through Sridham. And then he turns and glances and kind of smiles out of the corner of his eyes, like, I was only playing with you, Radharani. So here, that in the same way, the Gopi, the Manjari, will be called by Radharani, please you sing that love song that I wrote and I taught you. So then the Manjari can sing without so much reaction and hopefully complete the song because it's her seva and it's Radharani's pleased if she can complete the song. Then Krishna hears it. So one can only meditate on that. When will it meditate on that moment, that time, that future when the divine couple, Radha and Krishna, may call out by, "Hey Sakhi, come." You see it, and then how much blissful one would be. Calling out the name of that gopi and accepting their service. Nritta namikam samuparita tat sevaya. Now this translation, this is Kushakrata's, I believe, in this other book. He says, in Vrindavan, I meditate on the splendid and divine couple, blissful divine couple. So the idea here is it's English or ancient, either he meditates on them in Vrindavan or he's sitting in Vrindavan because the author was sitting in Vrindavan when he wrote the book. So I'm sitting in Vrindavan, and what am I doing? I'm meditating on Radha and Krishna. Well, that's what most Raganuga sadhakas do. They mentally sit in Vrindavan, they establish Vrindavan in their mind, and they sit in their mind in Vrindavan and meditate on the Leela. Or they're sitting in Vrindavan, and then they establish, with the encouragement of Vrindavan Dham's atmosphere, they establish a particular Leela stali in their mind. Either way, you have to establish the pit, the place of seva, the place of Leela in the mind, the yoga pit of meeting and seva, then worship there accordingly. So in Vrindavan, I meditate on the splendid, blissful divine couple, whose holy names the gopis serve, and whom the gopis teach the wonderful arts. So that's also true. The gopis are serving. We say nam seva. Nam seva. It doesn't mean that you feed the holy name. Well, you could say yes. You feed the service means to offer food. Service means so many things, but nam seva means to offer the feelings of your heart. That's how you nourish or feed the holy name. Offer your very life to the holy name. Your life, breath, everything. The nam is the pran. The nam is a pran and a jivan and everything. It's a name. We should breathe the holy name and hear the holy name and speak the holy name. Jiva Goswami says that if your service is separated from the holy name, then your service is separated from Krishna. To put it in an interesting way. If your service is separated from the holy name, let's say, if the holy name is separated from your service, then your service is separated from Krishna. Because he said when one is doing puja and archan, so everything is archan and puja. Smaran is also archan and puja. And kirtan is also archan and puja. Shravanam is also archan and puja. So all the forms of devotional service must be backed by, enriched by, resting upon, and propelled by the infusion of the holy name of the Lord, either loudly chanted or softly chanted. And then everything comes nice. This is the ultimate homogenizing practice of Krishna Bhakti, is the holy name of the Lord. It mixes everything, it's a mixer, it mixes everything together. Like the common element of most drinks is water. Most drinks have a degree of water in them. To some extent, even if it's a milk drink, there's so much water in milk, so that the base, which all the rasas that we experience as sadhakas, all the rasas that we experience are based on that liquid of the holy name. And you mix so many services in that base, that water, so many flavors of service, so many expressions of service. Try serving without chanting and see the difference. Then you'll know. So they may be also, as this one translation says, these gopis, mandris, they're chanting the Lord's name. That's why they're serving them. And they're also learning from the other gopis. So this is the last verse we have collected from Vrndavana Mahimamrita about the Mahima. This is the 18th section we discussed. We call it the Palyadasi Mahima. The glories of Radharani's maidservants and how close they are to Radharani. And maidservants means the mandris and all the sakis, because if you read one passage from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is maybe, I don't know where, taken from Ujjwala Nilamani by Krishnadas Kaviraj, he says that the sakis of Radharani engage in 17 types of service. And he just says sakis, and there's 5 types of sakis. So Lalita can become a duty or a messenger, and so can the manjaris. And as far as services go, all the sakis of Radharani, the Ashtasakis and the manjaris, her party, they're dedicated to all those 17 services. Any one of them can do any one at any time. Lalita can fan with a chamara, and so can Rupa Manjari, and Vishaka can make betel, and so can Vilas Manjari. They have these services. It's not that the Sakhis don't do anything but talk to Radharani and have vilas with Krishna. This, Sakhis means Sakhis. So we've heard this, many glories, and some of the verses we heard were very specific about the kinkaris and manjaris in one way, being trained by the Sakhis, and because newcomers, at least in our line, the newcomer Sakhis, if one is in Madhurya Rati and entering Radha and Krishna's pastimes, he'll enter as a Nitya Sakhi. There's two types of manjaris, or I'll say the manjaris come into the category Nitya Sakhis and Pran Sakhis. The Pran Sakhis are there eternally. They're the very Pran. So as far as we understand it, newcomers are generally considered Nitya, but that category of kinkaris includes Nitya Sakhis and Pran Sakhis. But the distinguishing factor is the Pran Sakhis are the eternal manjaris, as you might say, or those younger gopis like Rupa Manjari, Vilas Manjari, the Asta Manjaris. So now we want to discuss another, go back a little bit to Vrindavan, because there are lots of verses here about this, to establish this is the tattva, the Dham tattva. This is Ashraya tattva, the gopis, the manjaris, and the relationships and the wonderful services the Sakhis render, and how we should meditate on our form. He gives so many verses. One should think of oneself as a tender maidservant or kinkari of Radharani with such and such form and such feelings, rendering these services. We covered all these verses to direct one's meditation, one's aspiration, one's prayers, to fix one's sadhya if he's attracted and inclined and realized in that particular line, or say mood of love or rati towards serving Radha and Krishna. So now this section is called the comparable position of the Vaikuntha Lakshmis and the Braja Gopis.
Can you repeat the verse numbers for us?
Which?
The one which we just finished?
This section we just finished. Yeah, why not? Because one was, the 17th section was the Braja Sakhi Mahima. That was the glories of the Braja Sakhis. And then we, from what we could understand by the presentation of these verses which we discovered, we discussed rather, we felt and we see that was emphasizing more on the Palyadasis. So we separated these verses and called it Palyadasi Mahima, the glories of Radharani's surrendered maidservants, the manjaris, the kinkaris, the Nitya and Pran Sakhis. Okay? Now this is verse 286, 727. They're kind of random because they're by topics, but 240 through 243, 239, you have to organize it later, 726 through 730, 1089 through 1095, 817 through 842, you have it? Or was it too fast? Okay. 955 through 64, and there's more. 11116, 16, 100. There's one verse from chapter 11, verse 116, 116. Chapter 16, verse 62 through 63, and verse 86, and verse 93 through 95. That's all 16th chapter. Huh? And chapter 17, verse 102. And chapter 13, verse 33. Chapter 14, verse 40, and chapter 15, verse 44. Can you pause that?
Chapter 15, verse 44.
44. Now, do you have a record by any chance of all the verses that we've covered? Because I'm not sure we covered. You might just kind of check. But that's all I have on my list, so I'm not sure that sometimes I would cover it and then not mark it. So anyway, so we'll go on. You just see if you can find. we'll go on now. This is the comparable position of the Vaikuntha Lakshmis and the Braja Gopis, and this is first Sataka. So we go all over the book in this way, which is a very interesting way to read a book. But we're discussing this book by topics rather than verse by verse, which we could do, but we're not. I like topical, because then you have all the verses collected together in one spot and can kind of get into it, understand that you can a point from here again and again and again, and gradually maybe one point will stick in the brain. So this is, as I said, 125, and this is the Vaikuntha. Here, Prabhupada Saraswati, it's generally understood that he wrote 2 books about the Dhams. Navadvip, well, maybe you could say Prabhupada Saraswati, 2, I suppose. Vrndavana Mahimamrita, and then there's Navadvip Sataka, I believe. And Navadvip Sataka and Vrndavana Mahimamrita. It's generally said that he's a mad lover of Vrindavan. Prabhupada Saraswati is transcendently, madly in love with Vrindavan. As we often joked, people, I think he's the first one to wear a t-shirt that says, "I love Vrindavan." He was madly in love with Vrindavan to such an extent he would write verses. If someone says that they're going to take you out of Vrindavan, then you should cut out their tongue. So that's pretty attached. And we can also say that someone may be the form of your own mind. Because generally people think someone means another human being, some other person. But if your mind suggests that you should leave Vrindavan or go somewhere else, then you should cut that mind. As Brahma, he cut that mentality, that enjoying mentality that arose in him, that particular Brahma. In the purport, in some Sartadarshini, in the later chapters of 10th canto, I believe, maybe 11th, I don't know, forget. But he says that, he describes 4 kinds of Brahmas. There's the Tejas, there's a Brahma there's a Tamasic Brahma, Rajasic, and a Sattvic, and a Vishuddha-sattva Brahma, Lord Brahma. Because people say, Prabhupada, how can the head of our Sampradaya, if Brahma is the head of our Sampradaya, how can Brahma chase after his daughter? I mean, that doesn't sound very Sampradayic. It doesn't sound like much of an acharya that we want to follow. So then Prabhupada said, no, that's another Brahma. So, because these Brahmas are all devotees, but one is Karma Mishra Brahma, one is Gyan Mishra, like that. So then the final one is the one who's actually pure devotee, and he's the head of Sampradaya. This is the answer. The thing about this Vaishnava Tattva is that as soon as you think you have something pinpointed, then all of a sudden it manifests 4 forms. You think that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he plays the flute, there's one person. All of a sudden, no, there's Prakash, there's Prakash Roop, there's Vaibhav Roop. There's multi-dimensional forms, and I know. And I thought there was one Goloka Vrindavan. No, there's actually 2 Goloka Vrindavans. There's Madhurya Goloka Vrindavan, Aishwarya Goloka Vrindavan. So it just keeps going, the prism keeps getting, prism within a prism of compartments, and then they have terms like Parakoshta. In this Madan, in this Mahavav, Madanaki Mahavav, in one Parakoshta, one compartment, Radha and Krishna are experiencing union. But simultaneously in another compartment of their consciousness are experiencing separation. It's like even when the Radha and Krishna are together, there's 2 different divisions of their emotions. Or 3, whatever. What? Huh? 3, 4. It goes on like this. Brahma has 4 forms. There's 4 Brahmas.
Only Brahmas. Four-headed Brahma, Hiranyagarbha, and
This is Vishnu's commentary.
Chapter 10.
Anyway, Vishwanath has a commentary that talks about 4 Brahmas. I can read it and start the darshan. Anyway, but the main point is that your computer is 1 and Brahma's computer is 4, or 8 or 16, and he can't understand Krishna. It's quite staggering that as year by year, I read one book or another book, and it's amazing how far you can go and miss the point, maybe. Just surrender to Krishna and never forget Him and just serve Him day and night and see Him everywhere. If that can be realized, then you've got it all. You've got everything. So this is text 25, and we're going to wave our flag and about glories of Vrindavan, glories to the home team, and when they glorify the Pakistan soccer or cricket team, no one in India cheers for them, and no one says much. I mean, some people, I suppose, but not the majority. And the same way someone glorifies Vrindavan, yes, Vrindavan, Vrindavan. Up with Vrindavan, down with Vaikuntha, but from where we're sitting, everything is up. From where we are, everything is up. So this is, let's hear this verse. Kim no bhupe, kim nu devadi birava, swapnaishvarayot fulite, kim cha mukte, vyoma lamber vaishnaver, vapi kim na, shimad brinda kanana, aikanta bhajam, shimad brinda kanan. Brinda kanana, aikanta bhajan. That's kind of clear. What is the use of earthly kings? What is the use of powerful demigods? What is the use of the liberated souls who are satisfied with incomparable opulences? And what is the use of those Vaishnavas whose only aim is to attain the spiritual abode of Vaikuntha? For we have taken shelter of Sri Vrindavan without deviation, says the author from it. This is an excerpt from his autobiography. He's relegating all the opulences and vast attainments that one might achieve in life to insignificance compared to Brajavas. In other words, you see, if you're a king of the earth, it means nothing. If you're a king of the heavens, it means nothing. If you're a king of Vaikuntha, it means nothing. If you have to shelter Vrindavan, that's Aikanta Bhajan. Says Shrimad Vrinda Kanana Aikanta Bhajan. If you have Aikanta Bhajan, one-pointed bhajan fixed in Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan, or Krishna Balaram, just fixed in Vrindavan, he's saying, then any kind of opulence of this world, anything, the greatest opulences of this world, whether it's this Indriya Sukh of this planet, or Swarga Sukh, or even if you have mystic powers and Atmaramata, self-satisfaction due to yoga attainment, or even if you attain some Sharsti Mukti, the opulences of Vaikuntha, and living in grandeur like Vishnu, that's nothing. What can compare to Vrindavan? So let's see another translation of that. And it's interesting because he's talking about Vaishnavas, even Vaishnavas that want to go to Vaikuntha, and our sampradaya is Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And their basic idea is to go to Vaikuntha. So he's saying, it's like some of these great Vaishnavas are so absorbed in their Ishta Dev and Ishta Dham, that they even be very forceful language to hell with this and that, well, not to get into that, but they say that, what do I care for this or what do I care for that? I'm only interested in worshipping this little boy that's crawling around the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj's house. So this is exclusivity to the max. Exclusivity and bhajan bhakti bhajan to the point of madness, or if one is so much convinced beyond any possible point. How important are the most powerful earthly kings for me? How important are all the demigods and sages? How important are countless material opulences which come and go like the scenery in a dream? That's interesting because we have that word there. Swapna Aishvarya, the Aishvarya of a swapna, utpulita, they manifest her like blossom. There's sprinkles of truth in all the truth. Each of these renditions of the truth has more flavors of truth within each translation. How important are even the liberated devotees in the spiritual realm of Vaikuntha for those of us who have made residing in Vrindavan our only goal of life, Vaikunta Bhajan. That's how he's translating that. Vyoma Lamber Vaishnaver Vapikim Na Srimad Vrindakarana Vaikunta Bhajan. For those of us, or those of you like me, Prabhupada Saraswati, are absorbed in Vaikunta Bhajan, Vaikunta Radha Krishna Bhajan, and Vrindavan. Are you interested in any of these things? And Lord Chaitanya replies on our behalf to Prabhupada Saraswati. He said, "You're asking me if I'm interested in any of these things? What do I say? Na daram na janam na sundarim kavitam ba jagadishakami mama janmani ashwari bhavatad bhakti rahoitaki tvai." I only care about Bhagavad Bhakti, serving Radha and Krishna, Bhagavati Radha and Bhagavan Sri Krishna. In Vrindavan, and I don't want, because that prayer includes it all. Nadanam Najanam Sundaram Kavitam Bha Jagadisham. The glorious planets of the demigods described in so much attractive language in the Vedas, the Kavitam, the poetic language which delineates the glories of living in Vaikuntha or Swargaloka. I don't care a fig for it. So Prabhupada Saraswati has lived in Vrindavan, did bhajan and Kaliyadaha on the banks of the Yamuna, and he realized everything about Radha and Krishna's pastimes and the sweet love of Radha, and revealed it all in his classic writings, Radharasa Sudanidhi, Sangeet Madhav, Vrndavana Mahimamrita, and so many revelations he had about Mahaprabhu. So he's trying to, if there's anything in us that's not Vrindavan and not the pure seva, undivided devotional service of Radha and Krishna, that smells like any of these things that he's describing, then we should throw it out. If there's aspirations for kingship or wealth or lordship of this plane of existence, the material world, being some king or getting some money or comfort zone. They have these terms now, my comfort zone. I need my comfort zone. The whole new language, because we've crossed many languages in our life, slang of different generations and different countries. Now there's a whole new lingo amongst the younger generation. I need my comfort zone, man. It used to be, give me my space. I need my space. Give me some space. I need some space to grow. Now it's my comfort zone, or is it right? Different terms. Basically, every soul wants liberation. They don't know where they're going or what that means, but that's the motivation of every soul that's somewhat open. He understands that he's bound and he wants out. He wants to be liberated. Prabhupada said in the first canto of Bhagavatam, he described Narada Muni as a transcendental spaceman. He's liberated, he's flying everywhere, and he said this is the nature of the jiva that he wants. That's why Prabhupada said this is the traveling propensity, and that the human beings, if they have any facility, they want to travel, they want to fly, they want to go here and there. Because our nature is not to be bound. not to be bound by the constraints and limitations of matter. In the spiritual world, there's no binding of time and space. You can express yourself in infinite time and infinite space. You really express your individuality. You can express your individuality and your unique personal contribution to the center, to Krishna, and that unlimited, immeasurable space of the spiritual world, the fourth dimension consciousness. So there everyone feels free. Everyone feels totally free and uninhibited. There's a free flow of love and the free flow of the spirit. So then you take that entity, the Atma, the spirit soul, and jam him and cram him in a material world, in a material body. He's suffocated and stuffed. So he needs room to move. It's actually the consciousness. The body limits the movements of the consciousness. But when the consciousness is pure, then it doesn't need any limitations of bodies anymore. Because then you get a spiritual body which is unlimited, to do unlimited sevas. So many songs, you see every country of the world, the young people, the thoughtful younger generation, time after time after time, they always sing songs with a common theme. I want my freedom, I want to be free. They always sing about I want freedom, and it's so, and it sells millions of copies because everyone is yearning for that freedom, or that liberated state. But Prabhupada Saraswati is saying, even if you have a liberated state, it can't compare to Aikanta Braja Bhajan, to being fixed on the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, serving in Vrindavan. There's unlimited room to move there, unlimited freedom of expression, unlimited expansion of consciousness, ad infinitum, love infinite. How long is a sunbeam? How can you measure the length of a beam of sun? It goes on and on across the universe. And it hits us and hits planets beyond us and on us. And on. It hits planets before us and hits planets after us, a beam of sunlight. So the love from the living entity, the actual bhima, the premkan, the light rays of love emanating from the jiva, like Prabhupada says, he says that soul is more brilliant than the sun. That brilliance is the prabhav of the rays of love from the ananda shakti of the jiva. So in the spiritual world, there's infinite light beams of love in all directions. It just goes on and on. Can't imagine how much freedom. So in these verses, they're trying to catch one atom of that freedom and one atom of that loving ecstasy and share it with us. That yes, that Radharani will call out, "Hey, Saki." Just hearing, if one just hears their name called by Radharani, they'll have sattvic bhav, sattvic vikaras, just by hearing their name. You're hearing your own name called by Radharani or Krishna. You'll feel it. And you'll have to control those ecstasies that you experience by Shravanam, so you can render the service you're requested. Otherwise you'll just recoil in endless spirals of bliss from hearing Radharani say, "Hey Saki, hey Kinkari." And then sometimes she may say, "Oh, Rupa Mantri, who is Mantri is this? Who is this Navasaki? Oh, this is Navasaki. This is Manjulali's Saki. The Manjulali, this is Vinod Valari, this is Vishnu Chakravarti. This is Vinod Valari. He's in the group of Manjulali Manjari. Oh, she's a very good servant." So this type of dialogue will go on. So now we're back comparing Vrindavan to Vaikuntha. There's another verse here, chapter 4, verse 84. We saw these two translations here. I think so. Yeah. This is chapter 4, verse 84. And this is... often we get reminded of where we are and where we want to be. This is what it's meant for. He says this topic means 484. The brilliance of Vrindavan makes Vaikuntha seem like a glowworm. Vrindavan is so brilliant and so effulgent. The Sringara Ras and Ujjvala Ras, and the Sudipta Mahabhav, and all these extraordinary expressions of divine radiant love, that this whole Vaikuntha seems like this little tiny fly. We say firefly in America, but in India they say glowworm. But we generally in America consider a worm as something that's kind of in the ground, crawling inside the ground as a worm, and earthworm. That's something that's flying, like is an insect, and we say flying, so we say firefly, because it makes more sense. Worms don't usually fly in the sky and light up the backside. But the fly, he's like this, and then his tail, he has a little green tail light, and his body has some phosphorescence or something, and he lights up. So little kids at nighttime, they chase in the countryside, they try to chase and catch those fireflies. At least we did while we were in the country as a little kid. And they never really, you kind of catch them in their hand and they glow, and you let them go and they fly away. So that glow, that little tiny light, which is your cell phone, is like a sun planet compared to that. It's so much more bright. And that's Vaikuntha is like brilliant, effulgent like that compared to Vrindavan. So some worshippers of Lakshmi Narayan might find one might not appreciate this seemingly over-glorification of Vrindavan, which appears to them to be a cow herding village with cow dung piled everywhere up to the sky, and the roads are all mashed up with cow dung, gobar dust, and dried miti powder, and people go around in simple wooden bullock carts, and there's no golden streets. And in Vaikuntha the streets are paved with gold, and sidewalks are lapis lazuli, and the curbs are made of rubies, and when you park your car, you park it next to the ruby curb. I mean, it's like inconceivable opulence. Yet he's saying like this: Praline vat yantam chiguna maya mayodaya kata nareju kadyota hivacha hari loka sukhamaya kimanyat swanyat spurat yakila sukha bhavad vibhava krit sabasha Savocher Jwalanti Nanu Vrndavana Mahimamrita. Translation. The topics of the material world, which consist of the three modes of material nature, have been fully vanquished. The enjoyable abodes of Lord Hari glitter like glow worms and are no longer attractive. What more can I say? Defeating the happiness of all other abodes of the Lord, this land of Vrindavan is brightly shining by her own effulgence. So the land itself is effulgent. In Vaikuntha, the ground is Chintamani, is effulgent, but all the beings that live there are self-luminous, effulgent beings, more radiant than the sun. As of course, Brijvasis are also that way. But especially he's emphasizing just the land is so effulgent. Then the totality of effulgence of Vaikuntha, which includes the effulgence of the landscape of Vaikuntha, the Chintamani Dham, and includes the combination of the land of Chintamani and all the effulgent beings that live there. The self-luminous, effulgent beings are described as such in the third canto. It talks about the Vaikuntha Vasis, each one is glowing like the sun. So all of that combined effulgence together is like a glowworm compared to the effulgence of the land of Vrindavan. That's the indication of this verse, this translation. Now we'll see another translation here. Chapter 4. This is verse 84, another translation, chapter 4. Now talk of the three modes of material nature is completely stopped. Now the spiritual planets of Lord Hari have become dim as fireflies. This is an American translator, and this is a British English translator. The spiritual planets have become dim as fireflies. What more shall I say? Completely eclipsing the happiness found in any other place, Vrindavan shines with great transcendental splendor. So this is the glories of Vrindavan that Prabhupada Saraswati is showing it. Vaikuntha and anything else is nothing compared to Vrindavan. The whole idea of hearing the glories of anything or anyone is to become attracted, attached, convinced of that entity being glorified, convinced of the uniqueness of that entity, attracted to that uniqueness and attached to it, to the point where, in this case, Vrindavan is a place to live, it's a place to serve, and it's eternal domain of the Lord, Radha and Krishna. So he's a great agent. Prabhupada Saraswati is a great agent. He's a real estate agent selling property in Vrindavan. he's in, please come. You know, I'm inviting everyone to come to this Vrindavan and live in Vrindavan, eternally in their consciousness, and if one has that, can live here in this sadhaka roop, then all the better. If he actually lives here and properly performs sadhana, very powerful. Another verse along this topic that we're discussing of the comparable position of the Vaikuntha Lakshmis and Vaikuntha and the Brajadam and the Brajagopis is chapter 12, verse 46. We can look at that also. Udaryam masya asamordvam eva, karunyam masyas tvariganyam eva, vivuktivirasya hashite shabutir, brindatavim tatkim unashrayadvam, naashraya. The magnanimous nature of Sri Vrindavan is unique and its compassion is unlimited. The wealth of Vrindavan laughs at the wealth of the Supreme Controller, Vishnu. Why then are you not taking shelter of Vrindavan? This is the authors asking the readers the question. Knowing all this, then why have you not taken shelter of Vrindavan? Kim oftentimes is translated as why or when, it goes different ways. Kim nu nashrayadvam. So this particular entry, we said the opulence of Vrindavan makes a laughing stock of the opulence of Vaikuntha. So the wealth of the Supreme Controller, which means Vaikuntha, Vrindavan, the wealth of Vrindavan laughs. The opulence, the Aishvarya and the richness of Madhurya and Aishvarya of Vrindavan, they're simply laughing at the Lakshmis and the Vaikunthas. Planets are just, it's a laughing stock, it's nothing. The Aishvarya cannot compare, the Madhurya is no comparison. But then he glorifies the magnanimous nature, the udhara. Udhara means the wealth, the mood of helping and compassion. Magnanimous nature. Vrindavan is asamordva. It can't be equaled or excelled, asamordva, by any holy dham anywhere. There's udar. No holy dham can be as magnanimous and kind as Vrindavan. And then he says his compassion is also aganyam, aviganyam. The compassion of Vrindavan is limitless, unlimited. I mean, we see the most fallen, despicable, wretched human beings come to Vrindavan to take shelter. Because Vrindavan is so magnanimous and all-embracing that very soon they become rectified and reformed to such an extent that Padma Puran says if one just, totally materialistic person comes one day to Mathura Mandala, spends one day here, then he can awaken his bhakti, he can awaken Hari Bhakti towards the Lord. Such is the prabhav. It's quoted in Mathura Mahatmyam by Rupa Goswami. This is compassion, this is magnanimity to the max. I mean, generally this concept of magnanimity we associate with Gauranga Mahaprabhu, because he appeared in Kali Yuga especially to distribute mercy and odar to everyone, the most fallen. But Vrindavan is not any less merciful. If one has the adhikar, or the eligibility to live here and serve here, and remember and worship Vrindavan, then you can take advantage of that magnanimous nature. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's magnanimity doesn't depend on living in Mayapur or Navadvip. That's the difference. Vrindavan's magnanimity and karunatva, or its nature to be compassion, will be experienced by one who actually lives here. That's the author is living here in Vrindavan and glorifying this Brajavas. Rupa Goswami is saying that these Panchanga Bhakti, Mathura Mandala Vasa, to live in Mathura Mandala. He doesn't say the manasic Mathura Mandala. He doesn't say the mental Vrindavan. He says this Vrindavan. And those that are followers of Rupa Goswami, they tried their level best to live in Vrindavan. If not for all time, at least for some time. And you can see in the biographies of all the great saints of the Gaudiya tradition, who are followers of Rupa Goswami, they spent prime time in Vrindavan or their entire lives in Vrindavan. Narottam, Shamananda, Srinivas, they all spent time in Vrindavan, although they scattered here and there later, and even left their bodies in other places. But Vrindavan, the shelter of Vrindavan, the experience of Vrindavan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, Advaita came, Nityananda came, Janamamata came. Everyone came here to Vrindavan to honor this holy Dham and to show the significance of Brajavas. They themselves came and lived here. So when Rupa Goswami wrote about Brajavas as one of the most important limbs of devotion, that limb was already shown by his predecessor, foundational acharyas and mahajans of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Gauranga Mahaprabhu came and stayed for 2 months. 2 months he stayed. And Nityananda stayed, and Advaita stayed, and Madhavendra Puri stayed, and Nimbarkacharya stayed, and so many people stayed. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in his own revelation, understanding, or research, etc., that all these great personalities also went and spent time in Mayapur Dham, Nimbark and Madhva, Ramanuja, etc. They lived in Navadvip Dham and had the darshan of Gauranga or some experience in spurti with Gauranga. That's the Navadvip Mahatmyam, I believe. Is that right? Navadvip Mahatmyam by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we can read another translation of this verse. Vrindavan is laughing at Vaikuntha. And it's interesting because Vrindavan is often compared to a mother, a personality. We say the forest, oh, it's a forest of trees. No, there's a Devi there. There's a Mukhya Devi of the forest, Vrinda Devi. And there's so many secondary Devis called Van Devis. And there's even the ancient traditions, they have the ideas that trees are masculine and they're devs, and then the vines are feminine and the rivers are feminine. And there's fairies that live in the forest and personalities. So the Dham itself, Vrindavan Dham, is a personality. So would you like it if someone threw trash all over your back and plastic and covered your back with plastic plates? And wouldn't appreciate it too much. So when one has that personal concept, which many members of ancient cultures, they grew up that way. Where the nature is personal, and we're one person in that whole cosmos of personality. we are one person, and we're surrounded by a cosmos of personality. Cosmos. The stars are personal, the moon is personal, and the earth and everything is personal. The ancient cultures, the American Indians are supposedly quote-unquote savages, Adivasis or aboriginals, but many times these people are much more personal and a much more dynamic relationship with the nature that they live on and with their person. They contribute to the personality of the nature they live in, and they draw love and support from the nature that they're living in. So it's a personal exchange. The earth goddess, they had the earth goddess, and then the sky goddess, and the forest goddesses and gods. And the Vedic paradigm is this whole idea is taken to the scientific conclusion that everything is consciousness, and everything is personal consciousness. When there's personal and there's consciousness together, then there's an exchange of love, there's relationships, love, bhav, feelings, satisfaction, dissatisfaction, pleasure and happiness and distress. The persons are there. So Mother Earth can be happy with our loving exchanges, or she can be sad. And she was sad. She was feeling sad 5,000 years ago. She felt a heavy weight on her back. Oh, my back hurts. Please help me. I'm burdened. I feel burdened. The Mother Earth is a goddess, Bhumi Mata. She said, oh, I don't feel good. Oh, why don't you feel good? Because all these demons, soldiers and armies are going here and hither and thither all over my surface with their heavy chariots and elephants, and leaving bloodshed everywhere, useless bloodshed, and harassing the people, and so much tyranny and oppression, like these Kamsas and Jarasans and other people, that I can't bear the burden of all these liars, especially these liars and cheaters of Kali Yuga. Please relieve me from my burden, my great distress. I'm unhappy. So she's a person. So a person can be happy and pleased, or unhappy and displeased. So she was displeased, and she confided, she Guyamakyati. She revealed her mind to Vishnu and said, this is the scene over here. Do something. Make me happy. I'm a person, and you're God, you're a person. I'm Brahma, and the whole paradigm of personalities, one to the other, appealed to the Lord. He said, listen, I'll come there right away and rectify the situation and make you feel happy again. So from the top down, it's all consciousness, it's all personal, it's all feelings. The earth has feelings, the ant has feelings, the squirrel has feelings. Sensations, love, acceptance, rejection. And as much as we expand our consciousness, that's how much we can understand the expanded consciousness of God. As much as we expand our consciousness and our loving propensity, as much we can understand the unlimited nature of God's love. People very curtly and easily say, God is love. No doubt. But how much of that infinite expanse of love have you realized? And that statement, God is love. Okay, are you part of that love? Are you part of that? Are you one of the waves of that ocean of love? Are you trying to disturb that? Are you a volcano in that ocean, trying to split it in half by erupting, or trying to force some other situation? So we'll read this translation, 46 from chapter 12. In kindness, I hope you're not pausing when I'm speaking, because it's a great loss if you are. In kindness, generosity, and unequaled superiority, all are limitless. Its splendor is the splendor of the smiling Supreme Person. Why do you not take shelter of Vrindavan? It's amazing how so beautiful translations. If we knew Sanskrit, then we could add a third translation. Beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful. And that you would have to decide who would have the ratings of which. But we can only look at these two and appreciate the beauty and difference of both, and the similarity of both. One translation, and you can find the support from the words, of course. There's hasita isha bhutir. Hasita means, of course, laugh, smiling. Isha means controller. Bhuti of the living entities, or the person. So the wealth of Vrindavan, the bhuti, like vibhuti, we say vibhuti is the wealth. The wealth of Vrindavan, bhutir Vrindavan, Vrndatavi bhuti, the vibhutis, the wealth, the opulence of Vrindavan. What does it do? Hasita. It laughs at the wealth of the Supreme Controller. Because the bhutir, Isha bhutir, can be the Parameshwara, Isha, Vishnu, the controller's vibhutis, or it can be bhutir Vrindatavim, because it's the last word, so it can go either way. It can go to the left side, to the word before it, Isha bhuti, which means the opulences or wealth of Vaikuntha, or Vrndatavi. Vrndatavi means the forest of Vrindavan, that wealth. So this translator is saying the wealth of Vrindavan, hasita, hasya, laughs at the wealth of Vaikuntha. Then Kim nu ashraya. Why aren't you taking shelter of Vrindavan? So he's saying the word hasita means laugh. Now this translation says that in all these ways, Vrindavan is superior. Vrindavan is superior to Vaikuntha in what? In kindness, udhar. That word is audaryam. Udaryam, like we say audarya, the magnanimity. Audarya. In kindness, generosity, and unequaled superiority. In these, Vrindavan is limitless. And the splendor of Vrindavan, what is the splendor of Vrindavan? The aviganyam, what is the vibhuti, the splendor of Vrindavan? Then he says, it is the smile of the Supreme Person, the Isha Hasi, the Hasita of the Isha's Hasita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, the Krishna's smile. That is the splendor, the vibhuti. It's very nice. Vibhuti Hasita Isha. This is the vibhuti of Vrindavan. And the battlefield of Kurukshetra, then it's the Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita and he showed the Virata Roop, so many vibhutis. Then there's one chapter called, chapter 10 is called Vibhutis? Chapter 10 is called the Vibhuti Yoga chapter, where Krishna says, he describes all of his powerful representations in his vibhutis in this world. And among the fishes I am shark, and among the planets I am the moon, and among the bodies of water I am the ocean, and among fighters I am a skanda, and among birds I am garud, and among syllables I am ah, and matras I am ah, the first one, because ah is there everywhere, ah. And then Prabhupada Saraswati, his translation says, what is the vibhuti of Vrindavan? There's no sharks over here. And there's no god of war over here, Skanda, the Kartikeya, the son of Shiva. There's the god of love. There's a Prakrita Navina Madan. The Prakrita Navina Madan, the transcendental new Cupid, the god of love, Kamadev, Sri Krishna, Govinda, Gopinath. And what is the vibhuti here? There's only one vibhuti, it's Krishna's smile. It's Krishna's smile. It's the supreme opulence. Because if you remember that, then you'll be the most opulent person in the world. And if you attain that in the course of your service, if Krishna smiles at you, then you'll feel like you're floating on cloud 9. You're the richest person in the universe. So Vishnu Chakravarti in his Rupa Chintamani, Rupa Dhyan Chintamani, when he thought gem that fulfills all the aspirations and thinking of our mind, or thoughts and desires in our mind, to meditate on the forms of Radha and Krishna. He directs the sadhaka to begin with a smile. Begin your meditation with that vibhuti, the Vrndatavi vibhuti. Vrndatavi vibhuti is Isha, Hasita Isha, the beautiful smiling face of Krishna. A nectar devotion, you can look up this Hasya Ras, and you'll find out there's so many types of smiling. It's unbelievable. I can't recall offhand, but I give you the general idea. And it says that it's to Hasya. Hasya means laughing. Then it talks about Hasita. There's Ati Hasita, there's Smita, Ati Hasita, and Hasita. There's 3 or 4 or 5 different types of smiling. One is laughing where you're not showing the teeth and your eyes are glassy, like. Then there's laughing where you're just showing the upper teeth. Then there's laughing where all your teeth are showing, and there's different degrees of laughing. And rolling on the floor, holding your sides from busting. And just to read about it, you start laughing. When you just read a description of Hasyaras. This is the nature of Rupa Goswami's books. They're so contagious and so powerful that even in the most fallen conditioned state that we are in, when we contact this description of the guna rasas of the Lord, these secondary rasas, we also, our eyes get watery and we smile, and then there's mild smiling where you don't show any teeth and your cheeks become slightly puffed. It's like, your cheeks become slightly, your mouth is closed, you can't see any teeth, and your cheeks are a little bit puffed, a little glow. It means there's some little happiness arising in your heart. And then it goes on. So you can look at that chapter at your leisure. And obviously, Prabhupada Saraswati, he's saying here that this is the opulence of Vrindavan, the smile of the Lord. Can you see it in your meditation? Have you seen it in your meditation? Will you see it in your meditation? And Vishnu Chakravarti is telling us to try. Because whatever we perform in our sadhana, that someday will bear fruit. Whatever seed you planted in the ground, a fertile soil, will bear the fruit of that seed you planted. So whatever bhajan you perform in the fertile soil of Sharanagati, whatever bhajan you perform in the fertile soil of Sharanagati will one day bear the fruit of your aspiration. Sankalpa Kalpajum. So this is the sum and substance of bhakti bhajan, to plant fruits of aspiration, lalasa, siddhi lalasa. And then that's the seed of the fruit is there, and then a matter of the proper field to grow it in, and the proper care and attention. And then one will see in this very lifetime. Generally, sadhakas and acharyas, they mention, gurus and acharyas and guardians of devotion, they say that don't think for a minute. If you think for a minute that it's too difficult, bhakti bhajan is too difficult, if you think for a minute that bhakti bhajan, devotional service, is too difficult, and maybe next life, I'll try to finish next life, then you'll never finish. You'll never end. The day will never come. Perfection will never be seen. It was generally told that one should be convinced and not think anything else. In this very body I'm in this very life, I must attain perfection. Don't use excuses. Oh, I am grihasta. Oh, I am sannyasi. I am brahmachari. No excuses. That's why this principle is there in Upadeshamrita of conviction. Conviction means this, that I'm convinced everything is perfect, the process, everything, the science, the whole thing of bhakti is perfect. It's powerful, unlimitedly powerful. And I must attain perfection this life. I can't, and if I meet people that say, oh, it's so difficult, then I won't associate with those people. This is bad. This is asat sangha. Asat sangha are complacent devotees. Asat sangha are defeatist devotees. Asat sangha are pessimistic devotees. This is asat sangha. Because they're not following or exhibiting the qualities of Upadeshamrita. And enthusiasm doesn't allow for these type of things. Utsaha nistriyat dharyat. The meaning, enthusiasm means the absence of what I just said. Complacency, pessimism, doubt of the little old me, little old me, it's so far to go and so few years left. and gee whiz, I might as well just bank on next life and let loose and enjoy. Little bit. Not full hog, but just a little bit. Some American slang expressions creep in from time to time. Please forgive us. But this is not good association. And sometimes the disciples of Prabhupada, they say, Prabhupada, does the spiritual master come back? Does the spiritual master come back and rescue and liberate his devotees, disciples, so they don't make it? And Prabhupada answered, don't make me come back. Finish your business in this life now. That's what he said. I know the karmis have an expression, if it feels good, do it. So we have an expression, be Krishna conscious, do it, liberation now. Forget about liberation, love of God now, this life. We should think, what is this? Lord Chaitanya came to distribute love of Godhead, and his followers are distributing love of Godhead. I don't get, I don't receive. You're counting me out. I'm worse than Jagai Mate. Okay, I'm worse than Jagai Mate. So then, that means that you can be too fallen to get the mercy of Patita Pavan Avatar. Fallen is fallen. Right? Once you're fallen, you're fallen. If you're on the ground, you're on the ground, either lying on the ground on your back, or on your side, or on your nose, or whatever. So hey, Patita Pavan, you're going to forget me, then you'll get a bad name. People give you a bad name if you liberate everybody else and you leave me. Oh, he's too fallen. Then my claim should be first. If you're Patita Pavan, then, and there are bhajans like that. If you're Patita Pavan, then my claim is first. Like once one disciple of Prabhupada said, "Oh Prabhupada, I'm your number one most fallen disciple." And Prabhupada said, "You're not number one anything," or something like that. He was trying to get Pratishta from being the most fallen. Pratishta is so pervasive and pernicious that he was. That's interesting. Pratishta is pervasive and pernicious that the person was thinking that, Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, I'm your most fallen disciple. And Prabhupada looked at him. You're not the most fallen anything. It's like, as soon as you're the most, I need mercy. Don't say we're anything fallen, we're just, everyone can agree on one point, we need mercy. Kripa karo. This is the only phrase that is known in India. You approach a sadhu, you only say one thing. Oh Baba, Kripa karo, do mercy, give me mercy. So we'll continue tomorrow and Tuesday with the Chaitanya Bhagavat class. Vrndavana Mahimamrita ki jai. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhaveva titanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo.
Question?
Yeah.
What prevents one to be personal?
Question is asked, what prevents a devotee from being personal? Lack of his personal relationship with Krishna. To give further support, my Gurudev said, if you can't love the devotees, there's no question of loving Krishna. And it can go the other way. If you love Krishna, then Prabhupada said, if you love Krishna, you love everyone. So these two have to be blended together. Our nature is love, although it's minute capacity of Anand. The Anand, the Anu Chit, and Anu Anand, minute Anand is there, a particle of Anand. Bliss. And we're individual entities. Mevamsho, we're amsha, jivamshas. Jivamsha means we're individual entities, individual particles of consciousness, and bliss is our nature. So, by definition, Gita is explaining of sambandha. that that Jiva and Bhagavan have a sambandha. Mamevam sho Jiva, you are my part. If I put my arm around my wife and say, oh, you're my part, you're my better half. So the Amsha, the Jiva, is established by Krishna that he's a particle. He's part of him. There's a Jiva and there's God. Amsha, my Amsha. Mama Amsha, Mami Amsha Jiva Loke. So there's God and there's us, and we have a minute amount of Anand. But if we pursue that on our own, by independent pursuit, we can realize a Brahman aspect. Realize God, we reach out to God and reach out to that relationship that we have, and it brings us to the Jyoti, the Brahma Jyoti, Brahmanand. But then when that side reaches down to this side, when the bhakti mixes with our anand, it becomes bhakti anand, and that becomes premanand. So that's where the descent of bhakti, brahmanda brahmatekam bhagavan jiva, bhakti descends into the heart from aroha panta, avaroha descends, and it mixes in the anand shakti. And then that we go forward in devotional service, expressing love. And some jivas, they just begin their expression of love. They may be initiated first time as this birth, so they're just beginning to love. And other jivas have been expressing the tendency to love for many births. So that's why you take a given sample of devotees. Some seem to be really loving devotees and emanating, distributing love everywhere because they've been cultivating love potency for lifetimes. The bhakti is eternal. It's eternally, when it's instilled in the Atman and it becomes part of his very eternal nature, because bhakti is eternal. So the Anand aspect of the eternal jiva becomes that now it's bhakti. So then he dies and he takes another birth, and that real potential to love is manifest in him because he's carrying it from his last life, having received it by the grace of the Lord through diksha. Then you see, some people are just from very earliest youth, or they're acharyas and gurus spreading love in all directions, love of God. You read the biographies of these different devotees, Narottam and others. So the more we love Krishna, the more. If you actually realize, it's so obvious that if you're worshipping Radha and Krishna, or say Krishna, the Purushottam, Krishna, as the abode of love, and you're genuinely worshipping him, and bhakti's in your heart, and then eventually you'll feel love for that person. The love of Krishna will manifest in the heart, and then it will radiate into others. The love of God is the byproduct of our bhajan. But it doesn't come at once, like the sun doesn't fall on your head at once. A ray comes, dawn comes, and then early morning and late morning, and finally at 12 o'clock the whole sun is falling on top of your head. Scorching heat. The rays of love begin as soon as one does genuine bhakti, devotional service. So some may be starting, so that when you love Krishna, then you can love. The whole idea of our chanting, everything is all devotional service. It's loving service. It's the expression of love, or it's the means to uncover love. Or let's say develop. It's the means to cultivate the love. Because love, the particle of love is that bhakti bijam. That's the particle. Love means service. Krishna seva vasana. That seva, that vasana, that impulse and desire to want to serve Krishna, that comes along with initiation. And bhakti brings that bhakti, and that's what it is. The devotee, the guru creates that desire. I never had the idea to serve Krishna before and cook for Krishna, do everything for Krishna. Where did this idea came from? Oh yeah, I had this idea. Well, why did you just start doing it? How did it start? You manifested the whole thing? No, it's because of mercy of a devotee and planted in the heart. Krishna Bhakti. And the vasana, because now so many vasanas arise from our chitta, so many desires arise from our sanskaras. Because we have so many bijams, we have so many seeds of material desire for material enjoyment in our chitta. And then when we contact the object of the senses, and depending how strong that samskara is, and then vasana, desire, arises from that. Then the Guru puts in the middle of that whole storehouse of chitta, he puts the bhakti bijam, the desire to love Krishna is there. Now as we water that starts, it's growing in a field. The chitta is like a whole field full of weeds. And then the bhakti's there, the weeds are already grown up quite a bit. In different stages, bijam, kutam, aparabdha, parabdha. They're growing up in that field of consciousness. And then the bhakti is planted there in the middle, like we have that champak tree in the middle of the roses. So then he has to grow up and get his head above all those other weeds, and then he can start to catch the full sunshine and grow like anything. If he starts to foliate and flourish and foliate in all directions, and his branches and leaves extend here and there, and eventually there's so much shade, all the weeds get choked out, there's no sunshine and no water falls on them. So the bhakti becomes so resplendent that all the weeds disappear. That's why Vishnu's commentary says first the bhakti comes and then the weeds go. And that Vrndavana Kamam, Canto 10, Chapter 33, verse 39. Vrndavana Kamam, Shadanvitam Anushiniyat. So, this is the way. You see that many people, they may not be obvious that they're serving Krishna, but they're just, even when they're young, they're loving people everywhere in all directions, expressing love and kindness and compassion. And it may be just a their actual bhakti in their heart is covered by some aparabdha, parabdha karma, which they're operating under the influence of. But underneath all that is this why they're loving others and loving men and ladies and helping is because they got bhakti in last life. Then when they actually come into bhakti, and then bhakti removes all those anarthas and all those coverings, and then they start loving Krishna and Krishna's devotees. I know everybody else also. I can see from my own life. I can speak that, my own experience. That I was very much interested in loving everyone when I was born and grew up. And maybe we had some contact in last life with bhakti. It seems most of all of you have also. Most have. You go to any jyotishi, you were devoted in your last life, otherwise you can't have a chart like this, and Mercury in this house. People go to get their brigu done. Devotees often go to get their brigu samhita to find out their last life or future, and they all say he says they're all getting liberated, and people come back, how is it possible we're all getting liberated? Well, why not? Very few people out of 6 billion people on the planet, only a few hundred even go to see brigu. And of those few hundred that go, most of them are pious religious people. So who are the living entities that do get liberated from this material world? The pious and the religious. And don't underestimate yourself that this is, even Brigu's telling you, hey, you'll get liberated. And the devotee's thinking, me? So we have the means to liberation is bhakti bhajan. And we have to be convinced and enthusiastic and carry on. So many devotees, even at the end, and Krishna comes forward to save them, Prabhupada comes forward to save them. There's no telling how it's going to happen. Because the Lord works in His own ways. You can do everything right by the book and do everything properly, and then get all the mercy and proper behavior and everything, and come to bhava and prema, and Krishna will come and shake your hand at the time of death. Or you may even go in a circuitous fashion, very steadied and unsteadied and seemingly in maya, but crying out for mercy, then Krishna can come and save you. He's not bound. This is Kripa Siddhi. He's not bound. You follow or you don't follow. It's Krishna's prerogative to save the living entity or uplift him according to his will. So in that regard, someone might say, only if you have Krishna prema, you get liberated. Well, we can't disagree with that. That everywhere it says, this is perfection. If you attain prema, then you go to Krishna's Bhoma Vrindavan Leela. But Krishna can liberate someone even without prema. And they get prema at the time of death. Narada Muni saw Vishnu once in his life. Some people see God at the time of death. Everything can happen at once. But we don't want to, that's not the way we're taught. We're taught to, our Rupa Goswami, everyone tells us, follow strictly, go step by step, nishta ruchi asakti. Prabhupada said, don't expect the college is going to call you and give you an honorary degree. What if they don't call you? You wait your whole life for the degree. Better we go to school while we're conscious and collect our own degree. Hare Krishna.